Hey everybody, welcome back to Glam-me-up. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Sun Lab Self Tanner. So ever since about 8th grade, I used to always tan in the tanning bed. I always kept a good tan, especially in the summer, and I didn't wear very high SPF, only like SPF 8 when I was even at the beach and stuff. And last summer I had a place come up that didn't look very good, and I went and got it checked out at the dermatologist, and he suggested that I have it taken off or else it could turn into skin cancer. So I had the place removed and I had stitches and everything, and it was not a very good experience. A few months later, the spot came back and I had to have it taken off again. It was very scary. So after that, I knew I was not going to step back into a tanning bed ever. It was very hard to quit because you can get very addicted to tanning beds. I think tanning beds can be pretty addictive. You want to keep going, you think you're not dark enough, you see other girls that are very dark, and you want the natural deep tan, so a lot of girls want to use the tanning beds. But it is straight up UV rays, it's very harmful. I'm sure you've heard all about that, but a lot of people just don't listen. I didn't listen myself. I just kept saying, oh, it'll never happen to me. I'll never get anything. Once I had the place taken off twice, I knew there was no chance I was going to tan again. So I really don't recommend tanning in tanning beds. It's very harmful for your skin and it makes you age quicker. If you want to hear more about my bad experience with the tanning bed, I will link below the blog post that I did explaining more details about what all happened. I think it's great if you have pale skin. I think pale skin looks really nice. I would keep my skin at its natural color if it didn't have all the sun damage that it did. I've gotten a lot of freckles and more moles and sunspots from tanning in the tanning bed. So now when my skin is white, I think it looks worse because it has all the sun damage. If you have fair skin, keep it protected and keep it white. I think it can be very pretty. A lot of people are scared of self-tanners because they think they're not going to look natural or they're too orange. But there is a lot of good self-tanners out there. So I did some research and I ended up finding the Sun Lab Self-Tanner. I've seen a lot of people talking about it and heard some great reviews about it, so I decided to check it out. So I ordered the Blair set, which is only $33.96. I paid about $40 for it because it's on sale now. I think I paid about $10 for shipping since it comes from California, so I think I ended up paying about $50 or so, which seems like a lot, but this is a really great self-tanner and it's professional grade level. The Blair set includes the exfoliator, the tanning lotion, and the tan moisturizer. And it comes with a sponge loofah and a beach bag, which is really cute, but I don't have those with me to show you all. But it's just a pink and orange striped clear beach bag and then a white loofah. All of these products are cruelty-free and have not been tested on animals, and they're meant for all skin types, so that's really good. All of these bottles are 8 ounces, so you are getting a lot of product. I think it will last you a long time. I've been using these for about a month now, and I really like them. I've tried several self-tanners, and this is probably the most natural looking one. A lot of self-tanners are kind of an orangey color, but this one is definitely brown. You definitely get that deep brown tan that you want. That's the most like a natural tan. Other self-tanners, there is some good ones, but most of them all have that orange base, that yellowish color base. But this one is definitely a brown color tan, and that's what I really like about it. So it does look natural. People don't even notice that you have on self-tanner. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the review and tell you all how I do it. It's very important to exfoliate before you apply a self-tanner. Self-tanners mainly stick to the top layer of your skin, so if your skin is flaky or dry or you have dry patches, it's going to look patchy and not going to go on as evenly, and it's not going to last as long. Any areas that tend to be drier, like your elbows, ankles, and knees and stuff like that, really need to be exfoliated because they're going to turn darker and it's going to look funny. This exfoliator isn't as abrasive as I would like it to be, so I use it in conjunction with the Burt's Bees Sugar Scrub. I pump this onto a sponge. I use a lot of it, and I use this all over my body, like my arms, my legs, my stomach, and my back, and all that. This scrub is really nice. It kind of has a spa-like scent. It kind of smells like menthol and stuff, so it feels really nice on your skin. It's kind of cooling. And then on the areas that I need a lot more scrubbing on, then I use the sugar scrub for that. Now, with any exfoliating, I don't recommend you using your hands. I was using my hands for a while with this, and I noticed I started to get little scratches on my fingertips. It starts to damage the soft part of your hands. So I recommend taking a washcloth and putting some of this on it and then exfoliating your elbows and your knees and stuff like that, or wherever you have any dry patches. It works a lot better because the washcloth definitely helps to exfoliate. Make sure you get your elbows definitely really well. That's the only problem area that I've had with this self-tanner is it tends to stick a lot to my elbows and they turn dark and it's really hard to get off. So you want to make sure that you get all the dead skin off your elbows. This sugar scrub is very nice. It's cranberry and pomegranate, so it smells really good, and it is very abrasive. I've went through probably 3 tubs of this stuff, and this is what it looks like. It just has the pomegranate seeds in it, and then it smells like cranberry and pomegranate. After you use the scrubs, you want to make sure that you go back over your body with your regular body wash or soap. Since they have oils in them, especially the Burt's Bees one, you don't want to leave that on your skin because the self-tanner is not going to stick to it as good. You want your skin to be completely clean. The first thing I do before I apply the self-tanner is I put a little bit of Vaseline on my elbows. Like I said before, this self-tanner really does stick a lot to your elbows, and I've had a hard time with that. So recently I've been putting Vaseline over my elbows, that way it doesn't get on my elbows at all. I definitely recommend using gloves when you apply the self-tanner. The first few times I was doing it, I wasn't using gloves because I thought, well, my hands would make it apply better because they're warmer and stuff like that. But really, it's good to use gloves for it because if you think about it, half of the product is being absorbed into your palm when you're applying it with your hands. So you're not getting as much product under your skin. So you're going to end up using a lot more with this. And I have noticed a huge difference since I've been using gloves. I've been using less of this. I got these vinyl gloves. They were pretty cheap, and I think they're better than the latex ones. Those vinyl ones, they are much more slick, so they're easier to blend out the self-tanner. When I was applying it with my hands, it stained them really bad. I would be scrubbing my hands forever, and I really did damage my palms doing that. My hands got really dry, and it just wasn't good on your palms at all. If you don't like using gloves at all and you really want to use your hands, I recommend applying it to certain parts of your body and then washing your hands and going back and applying it again and continuing to do that. Don't do your whole body and then wash your hands because they're going to be completely stained by then. So you could just apply it to one arm, wash your hands, and then apply it to another arm and then wash your hands. It's going to take longer, but if you really don't like gloves, that's the best way to do it. And then you could even take the scrub and rub some of that on your palms to get the stain off. But it does stick a lot to your palms. It's really hard to get off, and really you just have to wait for it to fade. So I definitely recommend using the gloves with this stuff. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the actual tanner. So this is what the tanner looks like. It's a really rich, dark chocolate brown. It almost has kind of a green tint to it. And this stuff doesn't have any glitter in it. I know a lot of self-tanners have kind of a shimmery color in it, that way you look more bronze, but this has no glitter at all in it, which is nice, because then it looks more natural. This tanner does not smell bad at all. I know a lot of self-tanners have that funny chemical smell, but this one doesn't smell bad. It kind of has like a fruity scent to it. It's not bad. So you're not going to stink after you wear this. But you will smell it when it's on you, but you're not going to smell bad. You're just going to smell like you applied some kind of fruity lotion. Which fruity is a lot better in my opinion than the chemical smell that most self-tanners have. I really like how this tanner is dark, that way you can see where you're applying it. It's pretty much impossible to streak this stuff because if you're applying it and you start to see a place that you didn't rub in very good, it's going to be darker, so you can just see where you still need to blend it out. It dries pretty quick, but it's not too fast, which is nice. That way you can still get it all blended out before it completely dries. So it's not streaky at all and it's not blotchy. As long as you exfoliate really well, you're not going to have the blotchiness at all. The only time I see some of the blotchiness is when it starts to fade, which is usually about after a week, so that's really good. I like to mix the self-tanner with my regular body lotion. This is just the CVS brand for the Vino Daily Moisturizing Lotion. So I do about 3 pumps of this and then 1 small pump of this. It definitely helps it blend in better. And if you have really fair skin, I recommend mixing more of the lotion with it. That way you get kind of a gradual tanner and you can keep applying it every day to build up to the tan you want. Because this is the ultra dark, so if you just apply this directly to your skin and you have very fair skin, you might get too dark of a tan than you want. So if you have fair skin, I definitely recommend mixing more of the lotion with it. My skin's not that fair, it's kind of medium. I like to mix a little pump of the lotion in with it just to help it blend better. And definitely makes it go on more evenly. This tanner says it has instant tint in it, which is kind of like a bronzer, so it's going to make you look dark right away. I don't really see that much with this. I mean, I see a little bit of color, but it doesn't look completely like I'm already tanned right when I apply it. But you're going to have a little bit of color right when you put it on, but not that much, I don't think. This tanner takes about 3 hours for it to fully develop. Overall, it doesn't take that long to apply. It probably takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to do my entire body, and then I just put on a robe and wait for it to dry. It says it takes about 3 hours to fully develop. I start to see a difference after about an hour, but definitely after 3 hours you have the complete color. If you're not wearing gloves when you apply this, make sure that when you wash your hands you're not getting any splatters on your arms, because when I was doing it I would wash my hands and a little bit of the water would splatter on my arm and I would have literally white droplets on my arm. So anytime before the 3 hours that it's developing, make sure you don't get any water on it because it is going to wipe off the tan. But after 3 hours, it's already set into your skin, so you're okay to wash everything. Also, don't wash your hands before 3 hours because then you're just going to wash it right off. But you can just wash, your palms, but avoid washing the tops of your hands. So I usually start off with my arms when I apply this. So I pump about 2 pumps onto my glove, and then I pump 1 small pump of the lotion, and then I just rub it all over my arm, and then I make sure I go up underneath, and then the back of my shoulder, and then down the side right here, and really blend it well right here because that's where it's going to turn darker. And then also right here because these areas tend to be drier, so it's not going to blend as evenly. So make sure you rub it in really well right here under your arm and on the back of your arm. And like I said before, I apply Vaseline to my elbows, that way it doesn't get on my elbows at all. So just blend it lightly over your elbow, but don't just start rubbing it in because it does stick a lot to your elbow. And then I take about 1 pump and then a smaller pump of the lotion, and then I put that on my lower part of my arm. Since I do have kind of a lot of hair on my arm, I blend it really well until it completely dries. That way it gets all underneath the hair and everything. And since I'm wearing gloves, I skip my hands for now. I like to wait for my arms to dry before I move on to the rest of my body, because if you're bending your arms while you're applying it to the rest of you, you're going to get a little bit of a crease right here. It will come off when you wash it the next day, but I like to avoid that completely. So I just wait about 10 minutes for my arms to dry before I move on to the rest of my body. Or you could even do your arms last if you are worried about that. Then after doing my arms, then I apply it to my chest. I like to do 2 layers on my chest because I find that it doesn't tan as well. I think because it's just naturally whiter than the rest of my body, so I apply 2 thin layers to my chest, and I'm still mixing the lotion with it. Then I usually move on to my stomach. You want to make sure you blend it really well too around your belly button because you don't want to end up with a dark ring around it. Then I usually do my back after that. It's nice to have someone help you do your back, that way they can really blend it, but you can always just reach certain ways to get it. Sometimes I apply it to the back of my hand, that way I can get the center of my back where it's really hard to reach with the front of your hand. It's easier to reach behind your back and rub it with the back of your hand than to try to reach backwards and rub it with the front of your hand. So that really helps too. But I always like to get someone else to apply it to my back. And then I usually move on to my legs. I usually make sure I shave my legs before I apply the tanner, just so it goes on more evenly. But a lot of times people have a problem with getting little dots all over their legs because the tanner settles down into the pores from where you were shaving. So if you have a problem with getting the little dots all over your legs, then I recommend shaving a day or 2 before you do the self tanner. That way it can't seep down into your pores and make little tiny dots. I don't really have too much of a problem with that. So I usually just shave right before I do the tanner. That way it's more smooth. It still does go on okay if you have a little bit of hair because it works fine on your arms, so it's going to work fine on your legs. I just like to have my legs completely smooth when I apply it to my legs. Now around the feet I don't apply very much. I just go over the top, over a little bit on my toes, but I don't completely cake it all over my feet because you don't want to have really dark feet. Your feet just want to have a little bit of wash of color over the tops because that's where you're going to get naturally tan. And then I make sure I blend it out really well around my ankles. Another thing you can also do with your elbows, your knees, and your ankles is apply your lotion, or you could use the Tan Maintainer and with it and apply more of that. That way not as much of the tanner absorbs into those places. Just use more of a lotion to tanner ratio on those areas. That way they don't absorb as much of the tanner. And then I also like to go over those again with another layer of the lotion. That way they don't get so dark. And I also like to go over those after I'm done with another layer of lotion. That way they don't get so dark, like around my knees and my elbows and my ankles and stuff like that. So after I've done my entire body, then I do my hands. I take off my gloves for this, which is not that big of a deal because you're only applying a little bit. It's not going to absorb that much into your palms. And then I take just a really tiny pump of it and then another tiny pump of the lotion, and I just blend it over the top of my hand, and then I just swipe it over my fingers. I don't get all down into the middle and everything because those areas are not going to tan naturally with the sunlight anyways. The only problem I have with it is kind of around the wrist. It starts to get funny looking. I think because right here the skin is a lot smoother, so it fades away a lot quicker. Plus you're washing your hands a lot, so you're going to need to apply it about every 2 days to your hands. Since you're washing them so much, it is going to fade away. And then once I finish my hands, I like to take a dry towel and then just kind of wipe over my wrist. That way it doesn't absorb so much of the tanner and you don't get the dark wrist or anything. My wrist and then the backs of my ankles and then sometimes right here is the only place that I get the creasing problem with. So if they start to turn white in the creases, just go over it with a little bit of the tanner and it usually evens it out pretty well. I usually do my face last with this stuff. It is safe to use on your face. It hasn't broken me out and it doesn't clog your pores or anything. Before I apply this stuff to my face, I like to exfoliate really well. So I just use the Olay Professional brush and then my regular scrub with it. When I apply it to my face, I like to mix it with a little bit of my moisturizer. I just take about 1 full pump of this and then a small pump of my facial moisturizer and apply it all over my face. I make sure I blend it really well into my hairline, around my mouth, and around my nose and stuff. The only problem I have on my face with this stuff is it can get kind of dark around my mouth and around my nose. I think that's just because that's where I get more dried naturally. So what I like to do is after I apply it to my face, then I take a little bit more of my moisturizer and just apply it around my mouth and around my nose and around my hairline and stuff. And then I just take a dry towel again and I blot around my mouth and my nose and stuff. That way I can just soak up some of the extra so it doesn't turn dark. So it says on the bottle to apply this at night, and then when you wake up in the morning, apply the tan maintainer to it, which is the lotion it comes with. So I usually just apply this before bed, not right before bed, that way it doesn't rub off on anything. But I apply it and then I wait an hour or two and then I go to bed. And I make sure I'm wearing something loose, just like loose shorts and a loose t-shirt or something. I haven't had a problem with it rubbing off on my clothes. The only thing that I've seen is one time when I applied it during the day and then I got dressed afterwards. I was wearing a white bra and I saw that it kind of rubbed off on the bra a little bit, but that's the only problem I really had with it. So really when you apply it, just wait about an hour or two before you get dressed. And then definitely do it at night, that way you're applying looser clothes and it's okay, you know, if it gets on just your pajamas or something. It's probably going to be the most even after you take a shower because it gets off that top layer, which was just the bronzing layer. But I like to keep it super dark still, so I don't shower right when I wake up. I just apply the tan maintainer and then I shower that night. Overall, this is the best self-tanner that I've ever used. It compares to getting spray tans. I think it's even better than getting spray tans because you can apply it yourself. It's a lot cheaper than paying for each session of spray tans. It goes on very evenly, it blends out very nicely, it doesn't streak, it's not blotchy or anything, and it gives you a really nice color. Even though this is the ultra dark, it still gives me a good color. It might be the darkest shade, but it's definitely not super dark. If you want it to be really dark, you just keep building up your tan with it and apply it every day until you have the right amount of tan that you want. But if you're pretty fair, it's only going to take one use of this stuff, and then you can wait about a week and apply it again. But I shower every day with it and it doesn't come off. A little bit of it is going to fade every time you take a shower, but it's not going to completely come off. Eventually it is going to come off though because you are applying it just to the top layer of your skin. So as your skin gets drier and you're washing it more, it is going to eventually fade away. You want to make sure that you are applying the tan moisturizer about every day. If you have really dry skin, I recommend applying it twice a day because you really don't want your skin to get dry. Then it's just going to flake off and then your tan's going to come off. So if you want to keep it lasting longer, you definitely want to stay moisturized. If you don't want to purchase the whole set, you can always just use your regular lotion. I really do like this lotion that it came with though, and this is what it looks like. It's just a light green color, and to me it kind of smells like a cucumber melon scent, like the old Bath & Body Works cucumber melon. Some people say it's more fruity, but I think it just pretty much smells like aloe too because it does have aloe vera gel in it, which is pretty nice. It smells good on your skin and it does keep you very moisturized. So you apply the tanner at night and then you apply this the next morning, and then I would keep applying this every day. It also recommends that you keep using the exfoliator about every 3 days or something like that. That way you just keep taking off the dead skin and then you can reapply it after that. I like to keep the same dark tan with this stuff, so what I do is I apply it once a week fully to my entire body using the exfoliating, the whole process. And then about every 3 or 4 days, I reapply a thin layer just to my arms and my chest and stuff because that's what people see the most and that's what ends up fading first on me. In the summer when you're wearing shorts and skirts and stuff and you're going to be seeing more of your legs, you're going to want to apply that to your legs too about every 3 days just to keep that same dark tan. You don't have to fully exfoliate every single time, but I do like to go over it just with the body gel exfoliating stuff just to get off the dead layer of skin. You want to at least exfoliate about once a week to get the best results though. But I still like to use the body gel exfoliator every single time that I apply the tanner just so I definitely get the most even results. I would say it would probably take about 2 weeks for it to completely fade off your skin, and that's if you're not applying it a second time or anything. So basically, to maintain the tan, make sure that you're applying the moisturizer every single day and every single night too if you have dry skin. And then also keep exfoliating to get the dead skin off and then reapplying it to the parts that start to fade. I really love this self-tanner. It's probably the best self-tanner I've ever used. So I definitely recommend it. And then I've also done a review in the past on a drugstore self-tanner, so if you want to check out something that is cheaper and does still work okay, then I will also link that below. I definitely prefer this to the one that I mentioned in that blog post, but it's not a bad self-tanner and it's only about $6. So if you want to just get a cheap drugstore self-tanner, then I do recommend that one. But if you want something more professional and it's definitely going to look natural, then I would recommend the Sun Lab self-tanner. So if you want to get a nice safe tan before summer comes, and please stay out of the tanning bed. So that is it for my review. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know if you've tried this out before, and I will also link below my experience with using a tanning bed. So thank you all so much for watching, and please comment and subscribe. Bye everybody.